Cain Country begins in 1 minute.
Welcome to Will Cain Country today. I'm not Will Cain. I'm reasonably more attractive, I think. I'm wearing at least a better hat today than he would normally wear. He doesn't wear hats, but I've got a nice one on today from Round Rock here. The Round Rock Briskets alternate minor league baseball team hat. I can talk today. You know what's weird? I'm joined by, of course, Two-A-Days Dan and Tinfoil Pat. You know what's weird is that I was ready to go, guys, and I drink this espresso, and it just dried me out. And I'm trying not to hack up a lung as we start the show. Nothing like I get my first crack at filling in for Will Cain, and it's like, Tim, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going to hack up a lung. You guys heard it because I didn't mute the microphone coming into this for like 5 minutes. But once I get talking, I'll be fine. But I was just hacking up a lung here up until the moment before, to the point that Dan was like, there's a cough button, buddy. You can just hit the button. We're ready to go. Yeah. We got a lot to talk about today. It's going to be a fun one. I got to stay at a feminist hotel. I think you guys are very excited because I'm going to be probably the representative for the Washington, D.C. Tourist Bureau after this. They are very excited to hear me talk about the feminist hotel I stayed at. And I did not intentionally stay at a feminist hotel. But, in case you're wondering, women have it pretty much worse in America than Iran. I was told this. Very, very reliable source. Joy Reid covered this the other day. She's got it figured out, by the way. Joy Reid, she's never lied. She always tells the truth. She's never said anything outlandish. And, we have to take this at face value, right? People are taking this at face value. You guys want to run that clip?
Now, I'm not saying that regime is not bad. But by the way, our regime is not good. Our regime has secret police. They have secret police. Our regime is oppressing women, taking away abortion rights, taking away women's rights in like 26 states, some states where they're trying to have the death penalty for having an abortion. They also oppress women. They have the highest rate of women who are in STEM careers. We're kicking women out of the military, out of university. We're saying that DEI means women can't be hired for high positions in the sciences. So we're marginally better. And we're doing it for Christianity. They're doing it for Islam, right? Yeah.
Wow. Highest rate of women in STEM careers. Did you guys know that?
I had no idea.
In Iran? I didn't think they were allowed to read or go to school.
I know why. We covered this last week because they have a very high amount of trans people in Iran.
Really? So they're men?
Compared to most of the world, because you're not allowed to be gay there. And so it's men becoming women, and then they're getting into STEM careers.
There's no benefit to being a woman in that they don't have. I don't believe that Iran has a DEI marketplace.
Life worse.
Yeah, I can see how. I mean, it's very easy to be trans in Iran. I'd imagine you just put on the thing, and they can only see your eyes, right? So it's very, very, very easy to make the transition from male to female in Iran. You just cover the whole thing. You're set. But I don't think that helps you in the work. In there, we found out that they have enough to make 11 nuclear missiles before we started the entire thing here, before Trump decided to start the whole thing. Was it all women, or was it like Hidden Figures, but it was
they're really
over in Iran?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to win an Academy Award next year?
Yeah. I can't wait for the movie to come out.
It turns out they were 13 brave trans women in Iran started their nuclear program.
I mean, the left would make that movie for sure.
They absolutely would. And
directed by who? Who do you think?
It would be one of the Star Wars women right now, the people who have ruined that entire franchise. They transition out.
Oh yeah.
And then go and see it's all transitioning. But I think that's how that would go, because that's where there's a lot of times when you see like these franchises that are ruined, it's these directors who have done like 2 documentaries, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're going to give you Star Wars. You guys should just go do woke Star Wars and do whatever you want with it. You can't screw it up.
No.
What's
a storied franchise?
Yeah, Kurtzman right now. He's got Star Trek. I don't think they're coming back with Star Trek Academy Season 2 after that debacle. If you guys haven't seen that, there's a gay Klingon. The dude wears a skirt in it. And he cries.
It's a bold choice, I'll tell you that.
They're like, you know
it's
what?
A bold move.
Are you guys Star Trek guys?
I like the J.J. Abrams ones, but no, not really.
Oh, all right. Well, I was a Next Generation guy.
I know.
Which, by the way, you could have almost got me on socialism with the Next Generation. You had me. You had me like right there. There's no money. We just produce whatever food we want with no calories out of replicators, and you're set.
Boom.
But which, while I'm sitting here crushing goldfish, I could use a replicator with no calories on it today. But the new Star Trek, they have completely forgotten anything that had to do with Star Trek. There's one character that even when he throws up glitter.
Wow.
So like they're like
rainbow glitter.
It's yes. I'm not even kidding you. Like I haven't watched the show. I just watched the reviews of it, which are amazing. And they've pretty much they were like, hey, let's forget everything you know about Star Trek and just make it whatever. And then what's her name? Who's the voice of Miss Incredible in The Incredibles? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Holly Hunter. Holly Hunter. She's the captain there, and she curls up in the chair like a cat on the new Star Trek Academy.
Who likes this stuff? Like, who likes it? Not Star Trek people. So who are they doing this for? The masses? Like,
they're doing it for people, seamless segue, that like going to the hotel that I tricked myself into staying in Washington, D.C. this past week. Now, I want to clarify when I talk about this. I stayed at a feminist hotel, and you don't book a hotel and think at any point that it's a feminist hotel. You book.
I didn't know they existed.
I didn't either. You book a hotel at Disney, and you're like, oh, this one's the sports-themed one, or this one's the New Orleans-themed one, or whatever. But you don't think I'm coming to the theme park of politics in D.C., and we're going to have a feminist-themed hotel. Now, I check into this thing, by the way, again, not intentionally, and I need to clarify that for everybody out there. Not intentionally do I check into this hotel or book this hotel. I book on a airline flight thing. I don't know who sponsors the show. I don't want to give anybody free sponsorship. I book on an airline thing, so I do the cheapest place with the highest amount of points so I can get free flights. And I'm like, okay, this one's fine. It's in Thomas Circle. And I show up, and I don't pay attention to too much when I show up. There's a big mural of RBG we'll get to in a second. But when I don't pay attention until I get into my room, and they have like a themed throw pillow in some of these places. They always have to have the fancy throw pillow, which we can discuss whether or not those things get cleaned in any hotels at any point. They clean the sheets, but those throw pillows are just up for whatever was on it. Don't blacklight them. Especially don't blacklight this one, because I'm sure it got people very, very excited. Do we have, there's the Sonia Sotomayor throw pillow.
Fascinating.
I hope that's
with facts about Sonia on the back. I just look at it and I go, what is happening here? So I go back downstairs to wait for an Uber, and I had a little extra time, and I started looking around, and that's when it all hit me that this was a super feminist hotel. Where shall we begin? Do you want to the pin wall? Where do you guys want? You guys have seen all the images. I want to build to the finale of the RBG.
I have the three
mural.
The 3 images of the body. The body.
Okay. So these are in the hallway, which I did not pay attention to. Oppression. What is that? Female.
All oppression creates a state of war.
State of war. Yeah. And then there's feminism is sexy or something. Whatever it is. The woman that's topless there. They're all the. Yeah, my liberation. Where's the one? There it is. Politicians do not equal doctor. Now, if you guys are listening to the audio version of this, there's a woman who is spread eagle in jean shorts, and all of these have painting on their legs or back or arm or whatever. Politician does not equal doctor. Is this? Now I know you guys. You're up for grabs here. I think mentally. I've listened to the show.
Sure.
When you see those images, you're kind of leaning feminist now, right? You see like a naked woman with painting on her.
Yeah, I think that works on me for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Works
for me.
But again, this is how like out of it I've been. that it took until I got to the room and the Sotomayor pillow did all but like slap me in the face. Right?
See, I run in lefty circles. I do a lot in my life, and I've never seen this kind of thing. So take that with what you
again. Who would choose to stay here? And like when you see, nothing warms you up more than when you get in a room and you got a Sotomayor pillow front and center on your bed. You're like, oh man, wow.
Guess I'm about to learn something today.
Smooth
I've learned, yes. It actually makes me want to oppress women more. I'm like, hey, maybe Iran's got something right. I better watch it because, there's a lot of social media money floating around for people who say that on the internet now. I might have just made myself 20,000.
Yeah.
Can we just show the other parts? Let's warm up a little bit more after you get past the hallway photos. Yeah, we've seen this. So there's a man. They had a man one there. That was the one that they showed nipples on, was the man. That was very bold. But it probably is a woman who identifies as a man.
True.
And is in STEM and around. Here we go. So now you go into the lobby. And there's a complaint about equal pay on a purse, which, that makes sense. And then a pink pool table, because you wouldn't want a normal pool table. You got to have a pink one for women. My favorite is the Women's March experience, where you can take a selfie there. If you guys can't see this, and I'm not making this up, I would encourage you to YouTube.
I didn't realize that's what it was.
And I would encourage you all for this segment, if you're intrigued by it, go to the you have to see the photos to really know. So you can go and take a selfie as if you were at the Women's March, and it's a 3D like a 180 wraparound image. Now they didn't have any like party signs or anything. It wasn't like the photo booth where you can put on some goofy glasses and a hat. They should have pink hats there that you can put one on.
So you look good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You want to make sure you can hook your phone up to it.
Yeah.
And, they don't pump in I was at the Women's March. They have not pumped in the smells, I can tell you that. So it's not a 4D experience. It's just a 2D. Okay, so you're not really feeling the whole thing.
Should we get to your favorite part?
Yes. You're rushing me along. Look, I want to narrate this. By the way, I sent you I want to get to, this is where I gave you a alternate title for the show today, Tim Young Questionable Suburbs instead of Will King Country, which is where we are right now. It's Tim Young Questionable Suburbs. We're there. We're traveling through these questionable suburbs. So here we are, the mural of RBG. You go over to it, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And for those of you playing along at home, it is made of tampons. Now, I'm not sure, and you guys I forget who just said that you hang in leftist circles. But like at some point, like you can have a mural of someone you like, and I don't care about a mural for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I can't knock her service. And she was probably one of the last leftists who was reasonable and actually got along. Granted, her beliefs I don't agree with, but got along with people on the right. Great friends with Scalia. So I don't care about honoring her. No big deal. But I'm not sure that she would be cool, nor anyone would be cool with a mural made of tampons for themselves. And there's something to it. It's just gross. I don't know if you guys. And again, if you're in the comments
they're
or
wrapped up,
they're out of the wrappers.
But I mean, second wrap job.
Are they used? Because that's important.
I would assume so.
I looked it up. They were painted, thankfully.
They were okay, so they were painted. But I would put money on some usage. I would put money on some usage in those, just because of how woke this whole thing is.
They didn't. To the experience.
I want, I like a hotel that's not just feminist, but I feel like I can catch something from the lobby. I don't want to just walk freely in and just feel like I'm going to be safe.
Speaking of needing a doctor.
Did you get your shots before you came into the hotel, sir?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm surprised they didn't offer it. I mean, there's a CVS across the street from this place. Beautiful hotel. Great rooftop. I had a great angle of Thomas Circle, where I'm not going to do the positive advertising of this. And by the way, I made sure I am no longer. What?
You showed me the view. The view was very nice.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I could have me and the Sotomayor pillow could have had a romantic evening if I chose. But it was so uncomfortable, and luckily, I'm not still staying there. I could only imagine if I told the front desk I'm going over to Fox News today,
right,
to fill in for
Sir,
their top.
You're no longer
welcome
welcome here ever.
Yeah. Get your items and leave, sir. We would like you to evacuate the building with that. But I can't imagine. But again, going back to Joy Reid saying that we're only a little bit better for women in America than Iran. I mean, I would love to see what the feminist-themed hotel would look like in Tehran.
Do you think she just comes up with these thoughts like ahead of time, or just these crazy notions in the moment? because it's an insanity to say that.
I remember on her show once she claimed when we were complaining about CRT that there was Confederate race theory, and she said that in the South they would always teach at schools that slavery was great.
Fascinating.
I remember that one. I think she spitballs. I think she just goes out there and she goes, you know what? Let's roll with this today.
Over Christmas, she said, I saw an article. She said Jingle Bells was racist. So
well, I mean, it is.
It is, yeah. So
they only put the bells on the brown reindeer.
Yeah, so
Dashing through the snow.
Dashing.
The white snow.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really, if we had a couple of drinks, we could sit around and just wing it.
Yeah.
And come up with how everything is racist. That's actually how Libs of TikTok became a very popular account. Was she
With
started
all the
when she only had
everywhere.
well, when she started, her account was you could name any item or subject, and she would go on TikTok and find someone saying it was racist.
That's
everything.
That's a good business model for a social media account.
And it worked. I mean, I remember talking about it again when she only had like 30,000 and she wasn't, getting invited to the White House or anything like that. And then, I mean, that was literally like, I think pencils was one. You can name anything and someone says it's racist on it. And I guess that's what happens. That's what you do with your liberal arts degree from colleges now.
Yeah. What about hats? Maybe hats are racist.
I mean, this one probably is. It's definitely the Round Rock briskets. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, there's something.
I know one guy who wouldn't like it. James Tallarico.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that guy. Do we have that clip? I think I saw that in there where he's running a vegan campaign.
Yeah.
Oh,
this was back in 2022.
Back in 2022.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society. And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign. So we are only buying vegan products from our local vegan businesses.
Wow.
Yeah, I love a campaign that's like, hey, no more meat. We're not doing it. It looked like he was at a barbecue place. It's either like a liberal beer place or a barbecue place. What'd that look like to you guys?
I think so. I mean, definitely fake meat. I saw a recent thing on Instagram. Someone said you could tell if a guy's a misogynist or not if you ask him if they would eat tofu and not eat meat. And they're like, that's so right coded. So if you don't like tofu, apparently you are a misogynist.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Tofu's disgusting. Fried tofu's even worse. It just holds all the grease in it. You get nothing.
Yeah.
You get no beneficial flavor from tofu having grease. But again, 2022, and he's still wearing a mask. He was still holding true to he was holding hard to the Fauci faith there.
You never know.
Fauci stopped wearing masks in like 2020, 2021. And people were still, that was the guy that they were going to for their info. So I guess at some point the followers were like, I'm smarter than Fauci. I got this figured out. He lost me when he took the mask off and went back to normal life.
Everyone just followed his waves of advice too, by the way. So it's just like, well, you do this. No, now you don't do this. You do this. Now you don't do this. Everyone just followed along.
Yeah, and he didn't care. And I liked when they found out that the stickers on the floor were and 6 feet away was just some kid's project. Had nothing to do with anything. They were where to come from. We don't know.
Do you still see them around somewhere sometimes?
Yes, and I tell you, the 6 feet away from me thing is the only positive I think that came out of COVID. I don't want people to stand close to me in any line.
I agree.
Whatsoever. I like the arrows in the grocery stores to go up and down a certain way.
I was just gonna say that.
One way streets in grocery stores. That was I loved that one. That one really got me. And you miss it, you can't just turn around.
Yeah.
It's over.
I used to
But no, Tallarico. Dude, I'm not worried about Tallarico. I know a lot of people were like, there were a lot of people that turned out for the Democrat primary in Texas. I'm not worried about them. Cornyn and Paxton, the best candidate will win out of those two. I liked Wes Hunt too. Tallarico and God being non-binary, that's not going to fly anywhere. What was it? He said at some point there were 6 genders as well, or 6 sexes. This guy has a treasure trove of the craziest lefty things that leftists don't even stand for. And that's before you get to the point that Jasmine Crockett said that it was racist that she lost. So I'm very excited by his candidacy. I think he's going to get blown out of the water. They're trying to make him the new Beto, but Beto at least was cool enough. He looked like he would ride skateboards and he'd jump on counters and dance around kind of like Tom Cruise at events at coffee shops. This guy doesn't have that same charisma, so I'm pretty excited about Tallarico losing here. Happy that he's the candidate. I'm the only person that's going to say that. Do we need to throw to break and then have a little guest come back on? Let's throw to break and we'll have a nice guest in a second. David Bozel.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey there, it's me, Kennedy. Make sure to check out my podcast, Kennedy Saves the World. It is 5 days a week. Every week, we check in with Jimmy Fallon, bring in authors for the book club, and even treat some of your favorite Fox personalities to a very special happy hour. Download and listen at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Kennedy Saves the World. America's listening to Fox News. Every leader is united by one thing. They're all talking to America's anchor, Bret Baier.
Ukraine wants peace. How do you get to a deal?
When the world is watching, Bret Baier has the interviews that matter most.
What does that look like in your mind?
It's not for me to negotiate a deal for Ukraine, but I can certainly set the table.
Bret Baier is America's anchor. Watch Special Report weeknights at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox News Channel.
I'm Charles Payne. Listen to my Unstoppable Prosperity podcast so I can get you making money right now. 35 years on Wall Street taught me how to successfully invest in the stock market. In my 4-part series, I'm going to teach you too. Some of Fox Business's finest join me to help tell my story, impart crucial lessons from my Unstoppable Prosperity book, and to give you the tools to achieve your own financial dreams.
Listen anytime, everywhere at foxbusinesspodcast.com or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Welcome back to Will Cain Country. I'm Tim Young filling in for Will Cain today. Joining me now, my friend and not yours, David Bozel from the Media Research Center, president over there. How you doing, David?
Timothy, how are you? I love the old school Washington Redskins helmet on the desk. That is much appreciated. Hail the Redskins.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about them. Because I don't watch, I stopped watching football. I was a Cowboys fan until like 93, 94 when they were winning. And then they screw up so much that I just stopped watching at some point.
So you're a bandwagon?
No, I am an abuse victim. I'm not a bandwagon. I'm an abuse victim. And you know, it's same with the New York Mets. I'm a New York Mets fan. And like they almost get there and then it's just over. And you can't lead me to the water that many times and
there you go.
Drink.
I'm feeling you.
David Bozel, president of the Media Research Center. I wanted to talk to you today.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we were talking about Joy Reid earlier, just making stuff up, talking about how America's only a little bit better than Iran. It's one thing if it's just these individual characters saying these things and these stories and this commentary coming through.
Yeah.
But on the overall, you know, I get these notifications. Everybody gets these news notifications on their phone. I get the Apple News. I get the Google News. They aren't using any kind of non-biased outlets. The outlets that these major tech companies are pushing are nearly 100% leftist groups, right?
Yeah, we'll get to the Iran coverage specifically in a second, I'm sure. But Google, month of February, Tim, Google ran 314 left-wing outlets to 11 right-wing outlets in the month of February. Apple was worse, though they have improved, Tim. Okay, so golf clap for Apple. In the month of January, they went from 440 left-wing outlets on their homepage to 0 right-wing outlets.
Hey.
In the month of February, they went from 400 left-wing outlets to 8. Huzzah for Apple.
We're on the board.
Yeah, that's right. We're done. But it's been, and look, I mean, these are some of the headlines. You'll get a kick out of this, okay? These are some of the headlines that Google decided to showcase, okay, in the month of February. Quote, too many toots? What excessive farting says about your health? That was from Huffington Post.
Huffington Post.
Quote, what Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show taught me about MAGA men. That gem was from Variety. Another one, Neanderthal men and women were most likely to hook up. Study finds, from Gizmodo. Thank God, otherwise we would not be here, if not for the Neanderthal men and women hooking up before us. So those are the kinds of articles that these guys are promoting to tens of millions of people a month.
Am I the only person who didn't think Huffington Post was still around.
Right. Well, Daily Beast is another one. Apple showcases Daily Beast a ton, but not the Daily Wire, not the Daily Caller, or not the Daily Signal. And we can discuss whether or not the conservative media apparatus should have some sexier names other than the word daily.
The Daily. Yeah.
But we've got 3 of them, and Apple has decided to showcase the Daily Beast, which is wrong more often than I can count.
You know, I'm the media fellow over at the Heritage Foundation, and do you know how many times I've said Daily Wire in the building when I meant to say Daily Signal?
That's fireable, right? No, you're still there.
Enough that I'm surprised that I haven't seen Dr. Roberts take my contract and just go brrr down in a paper shredder. Yeah, we need a variety of new names in conservatism. But it's crazy to me. It's not just that they're picking up these outlets. It's that they've chosen to take those stories. Like the farting story, are they pushing that as environment? Or are they pushing that as health? Or
that was specifically in your For You tab. I just didn't tell you that part of it.
You ever notice that too? Like you say like 2 words and suddenly you've got like everything known to man in your For You tab.
I know, it's creepy. It's creepy. But the Iranian coverage too, Tim, has been off the charts bad. And this started.
Well, hold on. The competitive. I want to cut you off because I like hearing my voice more than yours, obviously, David. And I you know, it's just I don't get an opportunity like this. I want to hear myself. You know, it's a lot of people won't admit that, but I'm honest, and that actually makes me a better person as well. No. Your coverage of this is incredible over at Media Research Center because I remember seeing the CNN reporter who got the delightful tour. You know, if you saw the interview, the movie The Interview about Kim Jong-un with Seth Rogen and what's his name, Franco, where they go over and they have like the fake grocery stores with the fake fruit in the front. They have pictures of it and they show. I feel like that's the tour that CNN got over there. And
CNN got some. I guess you want to call it some exclusive access within the Iranian borders. The interesting part of the exchange that we had with CNN back and forth, that was our media analyst, Nick Fondacaro, who dug all this up. And CNN tried to defend itself saying, well, we've been invited to Iranian holiday parties. I guess they didn't even know they had holiday parties over there. We've been invited to Iranian holiday parties for years. I mean, as if like that was some sort of like a defense. It turned out to be kind of a self-owned by CNN's part. But this is the network that is bringing like Lee McGowan, who's out there on CNN, you know, almost night after night saying gems such as, we are the bad guys in this. And she never gets cut off, right? I mean, Abby Phillips will cut off just about any conservative anytime they make a strong point. But Lee McGowan goes out there on CNN and says that we're the bad guys, that we started this war. And she just never gets cut off for any of that sort of thing. So,
what's an Iranian regime party like? What are they doing? There's no alcohol, right?
Right. No booze. A bunch
Dates?
of. Well, look at the Mondami mayoral office. That's basically what you might.
You got it. You got it. You get some tea. You get to sit around on some rugs, and you guys can share some dates. I don't believe
a lot of Indian style sitting.
Yes, that's well, you don't call it that anymore. It's I think they call it crisscross applesauce, although it's much easier to say Indian style. As we learned from our ancestors. No, the Mamdani thing, probably less flamboyantly gay people at the Iranian parties, though, because he invited all the influencers there, and there were a couple people I'm like, wow, this would not fly at any kind of Ramadan thing in the Middle East. It's wild to me that they have people convinced that the Iranian regime would be accepting of others. And Joy Reid saying that they had more women in STEM over there, STEM jobs, than we do.
Right. I mean, I think back to the clip from former New York Cardinal Dolan, who was rightfully upset that he wasn't invited to the inauguration of Mondami. But then you have to think, like, maybe he dodged a bullet because he'd be invited to sit Indian style or crisscross applesauce style at one of his meetings.
I like that you're taking the correction. Don't ever take the corrections on that. You say it however you want. If it's Indian style in your household, it's Indian style in mine. No, it's crazy to me. I just like the guy, their foreign correspondent who was going through, and he goes, "This coffee is fantastic at the old truck stop here. Coming through we just passed over the border, and delicious stuff here. I wonder what that is. Ethiopian? What do they got in the country?"
Yeah.
I just can't believe that.
It's across the board. I mean, it started with the Washington Post and their obituary of the Ayatollah, the white bushy beard, the lover of Parisian
He loved poetry. Yeah, he loved poetry.
This wry smile. I mean, I couldn't tell if they were talking about the Ayatollah or Jim Morrison half the time.
Kind of sounded like Santa.
Exactly. That's right.
Presents for the little boys and girls.
That's right. That's right. So and then it's cascaded into late night TV as well. We tabulated 235 out of the 250 jokes that were made after after we started launching bombs there were anti-American. And every comedian, Tim, and you'd appreciate this as a comedian, from Fallon to SNL to Kimmel to Colbert, they all had a variation of the same bit, which is this whole Iranian conflict is a distraction from the Epstein file. They all had the same joke, as if they had been in the same chat board, thinking of how could we dig the president tonight. And this is why I think Brendan Carr's out there saying, like, well, now wait a minute, why are the American taxpayers subsidizing to the tune of tens of millions of dollars these broadcast licenses? If we're in a conflict and American men and women are in harm's way, and these guys are out there making jokes about American men and women being in harm's way. So,
while their side isn't funding DHS, while we're seeing an uptick in terrorism in this country, and their side isn't funding DHS. So again, like they put us. They always complained about. They said Trump was dog whistling when they would take things out of context, and conservatives dog whistle. They're literally turning the American people. We're trying to turn the American people against this administration and against America, and it's really it's scary. It's anti-American. I can't believe that this is where we are. You've been in the business now for what? You've been monitoring media for 30 years or something now? I don't want to date you.
Yeah. Well, my father, Brent, started MRC, and we've been up and running since 1987. So we've got close to 40 years doing this. And
is it? I mean, is this the worst you've seen it?
Oh, gosh. I mean, when it comes to the Trump derangement syndrome, for sure. For sure. I mean, we're old enough to remember Desert Storm, Wolf Blitzer coming on prime time, giving a sober presentation of our military exercises down over in Iraq, in the Middle East, back in the 90s. You can't get that anymore. They won't even air anything that SETCOM puts out, right? And the DHS shutdown. I mean, it's a total blockade of a conservative viewpoint. Only 8% of the coverage blames Democrats for the shutdown. So all the lines that you're experiencing in TSA, you would not know that this was the Democrats who voted to shut down DHS to create those lines. So this is I tell you where it is sort of the worst, Tim, is this blockade of the conservative media ecosystem, which has flourished despite getting no help at all from Apple, Google, Yahoo, and MSN. And this is sort of the next evolution in the fight against media bias, because if conservatism needs to plant its flag on the biggest news distributors in America, and they are, all four of them are the biggest news distributors in America today, at least online anyway. So these are the conservative ecosystem needs to be fairly represented on these things. And right now it's a total blockade against us.
And I know you're kind of putting a coalition together to work on that as well, actively putting a coalition together to work on that. I think we forgot about it. I think this is one of those situations where we forgot who was pushing the stuff to our phones that we had in our pockets the entire time. I think you guys are the ones that caught it and have pushed forward in fixing the situation, or trying to fix the situation. But it's one of those that we kind of were asleep at the wheel on.
Well, so one of the reasons, the origin story of this was we were sitting with the senior team late last year, and I said, just randomly, what's the #1 news website in America today? And I was ticked off. It's the New York Times. It was for the chart that we saw was 440 million hits a month. #2 is even more distressing, CNN. CNN.com was 330 million hits in the month of November. Now, Fox is right behind them. But then you start to wonder, how is CNN #3 in the cable news ratings race, right? And #1 or #2, right? Well, you used to say airports, where they're getting all this hookup from these big news app aggregators, from the Googles and Yahoos and MSNs. The most telling one was Newsweek, Tim. Newsweek is a top 15 news website in America today. You cannot go 100 miles in any direction and find anyone clamoring to read their Newsweek. It's sold for $1 not 10 years ago. $1, it was commercially bankrupt. And again, no one's clamoring to read their Newsweek, and yet it's a top 15 news website in America today, based solely on the fact that they're getting linked to by MSN 75, 80, last in February, I think it was 88 times. 88 times. And to close out the year in 2025, they were linked to 143 times. So, you're telling me that there's someone in the conservative ecosystem can't take a couple slots? Is there some kind of exclusivity arrangement going on?
I mean,
that's all going to be part of the investigation. But MSN is preloaded on every personal computer in America today. Apple News is preloaded on every iPhone in America. Google News is preloaded on every Android in America. That's why these things are important.
I just get Pokemon news for mine. Really,
there you go. I don't blame you.
That's all I get.
I know you do. I know you do.
It's a problem. No, but it's really scary. And again, we aren't paying attention to that stuff. And I'm glad you are, and I'm glad that your organization is. But I think a lot of people, including
we're kind of sickos about it, actually.
and Brendan Carr, by the way, credit to him. He's been paying attention to it too. He's got his eyes open to this stuff. He's one of the best over there. I couldn't imagine, again, being in a position like that and having to monitor everything and then make the calls on what the organization is going to take a look at and what the administration is going to investigate. There's a lot to take a look at here.
Yeah, well, it's also the FTC, Andrew Ferguson over the Federal Trade Commission, and he sent a letter to Apple saying, now wait a minute, if your advertising literature suggests buy our iPhone, and included in this iPhone you'll get this neutral presentation of the news, and yet 440 left-wing outlets to 0 right-wing outlets in the month of January, that's not neutral at all. That's anything but. So are they engaged in deceptive business practices? That'll, we'll see if there's an investigation that might ensue, and we'll see what Apple's response is to that. So it's good to, create some of these pressure points. We're not going to be able to get a neutral, balanced media ecosystem unless we fight hard for it. And maybe it's my lineage, but I've watched different mediums, Tim. I know you have, whether it's X or talk radio or even Facebook, right? Facebook used to be Obama's plaything, and I think conservatism took it over. And we were right to plant our flag there. We had to. It was the biggest distribution engine in the world that God has ever created, that man has ever created. And so it's important that we plant our flags on these things. And I don't want to be considered niche anymore. We're bigger than that. And I think it's high time for these app aggregators to treat us accordingly.
Yeah, I
want
behind you.
Pokemon news on there as well.
I do. That's that's me. I'm just trying to get paid by the. All these, they say all these influencers are paid by these foreign governments. I just want Japan to pay me to go.
Not
see
me.
Pokemon.
Not me.
Okay.
I want some of that action.
David Bozel, president of the Media Research Center. Please go make sure that you go and check out the Media Research Center and all their work, Newsbusters, For America, all of the organizations associated with them, because they need the clicks so that they can monetize it and get the health care and the mental health care that their researchers need for having to watch The View and all of those late nights. I mean, the fact that how many jokes were made about Iran and then how they skewed speaks to all of your researchers over there and their hard work and their lack of probably mental stability at this point. David Bozel, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's throw to break, guys. Coming up after the break, we've got Congressman Tim Burchett, one of my favorites, and I've got a lot of questions about how we're going to get through all of the blockading from the left in the Senate and in Congress in general. Looking forward to this conversation coming up in a second on Will Cain Country.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday. Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you.
Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
Fox Saturday Night Baseball is back. It all begins with Yankees versus Giants. You bring the couch, we'll bring the drama. March 28th on Fox. If it's Saturday night, it's baseball night in America.
Star power and horsepower. All gas, no brake. We
week in and week out. This is the NASCAR Cup Series. Darlington, Sunday at 1:30 Eastern on FS1.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday. Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you.
Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
Welcome back to Will Cain Country. I'm Tim Young, filling in for Will Cain. If you're not following me at Tim Runs His Mouth, go do that. Not enough time to promote myself here. Let's get right to an excellent guest. One of my favorite members of Congress, by the way, and I'm so excited. I want to give Pat and Dan credit for booking this guy because I love his stuff. I got to tell you, Congressman Tim Burchett, Tennessee's 2nd District, when I see your videos, it's like you were the guy who nailed the selfie videos on Capitol Hill for conservatives. When I see you going around talking, I actually pay attention to them. But all of your colleagues, just when you're in a big meeting with them, be like, hey, guys, look, I got this. You're not really measuring up like I do. I think you got it figured out. Everybody else is just trying to copy you at this point,
Well, I'm not sure about that. I guess I'm an 8-year overnight success in Congress, When I first got here, I started doing those videos. And, we got a little following, get a couple of hundred retweets or something back when it was Twitter before it was X. And I didn't do any of the other avenues or anything. And people were making fun of me, about it, how stupid it was. You're always up your nose. You're walking, it's shaking around, and nobody cares about all this stuff. But what I kept finding out? People did care. They wanted to know about the minutia. They wanted to know why a certain bill wasn't passing or who was putting the wood to them in here in both parties. And now they pay people over 100. Some of these people making over $100,000. Their Twitter team or something, and they, and you watch videos now, and people they've got equipment that actually makes them look sketchy. They don't make them have a great accent like I do, but they try to make it look like it's homemade or something, and still just me and my, as I call it, my excuse me, my God-given selfie stick. It's just my arm, and that's the way I do them. And we've now got through all the avenues of Twitter and I don't know, all the other stuff, I've got over 1 million unique viewers. And some weeks we put in some huge numbers in that. And I go through airports and little old ladies thank me for my, my videos and stuff. And I dig it. People need to know what the heck's going on up here, what you're paying us a lot of money not to do. And I'm kind of a threat to the establishment, so I kind of dig that.
Look, to what you said there, it's true. What you do is you turn the camera on yourself when you come out of something and you give your instant reaction to it. You talk about what's happening. There are full teams of people who have to sit around and script it 18 times and pass it through the whole staff to make sure that they, if you're doing your job, which is what you're doing, you should be able to react that quickly and be like, look, this is what happened today, and this is what's got to happen to make these things move. I've also seen you handle some left-wing reporters just not being, put them in their place, man. You're great at what you do. But it really has turned into a hell of it's a cottage industry, and people get paid an awful lot of money to come in and make people look kind of dopey instead of natural. It's like you just pick up your phone and say what you think. You did it to get in office. You can do it now, Yeah,
I remember one of the first videos that I had that went viral. A big old snake was running across the road, and snakes, they eat rats and all kinds of stuff. And I reached out and grabbed it, and it wasn't poisonous. I could tell what I think it was a rat snake actually. And I grabbed it, and I remembered I have my Glock in my back pocket or in my holster in my back. It was a 9mm, pretty large early edition of Glock, and not like the slim profile one like I carry now. And we didn't even know it was showing. And somebody said, hey, your gun's showing, and my campaign guy says, boss, we need to pull that thing down. I said, dude, we're in Tennessee. I said, that just got us votes, and I think the uniqueness of our videos and just unedited, I come off the floor, I'm ticked off or I'm happy about something. I think people need to know that, and they need to know why. And too many times, I think you're right. We do over edit this stuff, and we need to just put it out there like it is, and America can figure it out.
Well, one of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I think she represents Hogwarts, Rosa DeLauro. She's been trying to do her little videos, and they are abysmal. So yeah, I don't know what she's trying to do. I got two more goofy questions for you before we get into the serious stuff.
Go ahead, brother.
One of them is, what type of jacket are you wearing? That hunting jacket, is that a Filson? What kind of jacket you wear all the time?
No, it's a Carhartt, and it's just an old. It's funny. Maxine Waters caught me one time getting on an elevator after I was first elected, and everybody's like, "Man, don't talk to her," And so I'm in the elevator, it's me and her, and she looks at me in all sincerity and says, "Are you that boy that wears that barn jacket?" I said, "Yes, chair lady, I am." And she said, "Why do you wear that?" I said, "Well, 3 reasons, ma'am. It's just like me." I said, it's a made in America. It holds up under pressure, and it's cheap." And she laughed and said, "We're going to get along just fine. We don't agree on anything." And but she walks by every now and then, gives me a high five, and asks me how my daughter and my wife are doing or something. We make a casual conversation. I know that drives people crazy, but I used to wear those. I'd get them in a place called Hammers in Knoxville, and it was the second-hand stuff. We didn't come for money, and I don't care if it's got a scratch on it. I'm going to be changing the oil in my Jeep or something in it anyway. So, or now I'm cleaning barns and working on a tractor at home or working on one of my motorcycles. So I don't care if it gets scuffed up. And I've been wearing those things over 20 years, I guess, maybe close to 30 years. And I was at a University of Tennessee football game, and this guy said, "Man, this guy wants to talk to you. He's from Carhartt. He's a vice president or president or something." I said, "Yeah, well, tell him to catch up with me. I'm game days at UT are working days for me. It's in my district. 106,000 of my closest friends are there, so I need to be shaking some hands." So I'm getting down there, and this guy walks up to me and started talking to me. I said, "Are you from Carhartt?" And he said, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" And I said, "Well, you're the first Yankee that's come up and talked to me, so I just figured it out." And he said, "Really appreciate," talking to me about my jacket and stuff. And I said, "I'm going to quit wearing it, though." And he said, "Oh, really? Why?" I said, "Because you don't make them in America anymore. This one I got here is made down in Central America." And I talked about too many Americans needing jobs. And he said, "We're going to make them in Tennessee next year." So apparently they're making the jacket like I wear now in Tennessee. I haven't double checked that, but I'm looking forward to finding them made. So I'm going to keep wearing them then if they're going to make them in our country. But I'm about ready to ditch them if they don't.
Well, look, a lot of corporate executives are fleeing to your state because of that lack of income tax. As soon as the state of Washington put their millionaires tax in 9.9%, suddenly you guys are going to have some really crappy coffee in your state.
Yeah, we've heard about that, and Tennessee is also a right-to-work state. We don't care if you're in a union or not. You're not going to force you to do it. And so Tennessee is. You're right. It's one of the top. I used to be in the U-Haul business, had a little truck and trailer business, did a little welding, rented a few U-Hauls, and we could never get the big trucks. And now that's all there is. You see them parked everywhere, and all the little redneck places like I had got 3 or 4 of the great big, the 24, 26 footers. And it's because everybody's coming to Tennessee and nobody's leaving. So I kind of dig that.
Yeah. Listen, you can take them. I'm in Fort Worth. I know Will and his staff when they're regularly in, or Dallas, and I know Will's in little around that area. I'd rather them go to Tennessee for the time being instead of coming to Texas. Take a break from coming to Texas for a little bit, guys. You can go. Tennessee's a beautiful state. Go over there. And Florida's great, too. So head those 2 directions. What are we doing in Congress right now, man? I got to hop on a plane in about an hour once I run out of here. What are we doing to stop the Democrats with these shutdowns? And is there, the question that I get a lot from my friends is there a way to make, TSA and DHS essential so that we don't have to keep having these continuing resolutions and votes to get them funded?
Yeah, I don't know the matters they make it essential. The Democrats really don't care. And the reason they don't is because the vast majority of them, I believe, live here in Washington. These guys, I must be the only guy that sleeps on a couch at night up here. I don't come from money. Parents are career educators. I have a degree in education. And so, I sleep here. I don't have a $1.5 million condo or a house up here, which a lot of people do, apparently, in both parties. And, they don't see the lines at TSA. They'll maybe see it on the news, the internet, but it's that shiny object, that they see, and then they forget about it in about a week. And the trouble is you got Coast Guard and TSA agents and some others that are going without pay. These are working people that work very hard. And to me, it's just a total disgrace, and it's disgusting. I voted to keep them open, and they're using that as a political pawn because they're these border agents and Tom Homan's folks that go around with masks on and maybe have their, you can see their badge, you just don't see their name because they don't want their families to be harassed or their lives threatened. And they have a right to that kind of protection. And that's what they're trying to get at. It doesn't have anything to do with TSA. It doesn't have anything to do with the Coast Guard, and some of our other security. But the thing is, we're in a little bit of a conflict over there in the Middle East, a major conflict. And I know that we've got agents of these countries and literally terrorists that have been released into our country. I was told by the last elected president of Afghanistan that we had a situation where they were, and he thinks there's over 500 members of the Taliban that are in our dadgum country, and we don't know where they are. So yeah, I think it's a serious issue, and something bad is going to happen, and that's what it's all about. And they want insurance for illegals and the drag shows. It's all wrapped up in their little bill that they're not talking about, and the mainstream media will not cover it because they're so deep in bed with the far left. It's pathetic. That $15 they paid for journalism school for their diploma, they need to get it back because they're not covering the full story. And the real story is that they're putting Americans at risk for political expediency, and they want to cause as much pain as possible.
I mean, are we seeing now Americans wake up? I did see on the weekend shows, the lefties on MS Now and CNN started kind of pointing fingers at the Democrats, saying, "Hey, this backup at the airport should be over." But is the tide turning? Are you seeing this? Are Americans finally kind of waking up to it, or are they still being manipulated by the media?
I think they've woke up to it. It's just that I think they're just so overwhelmed, and the Republicans. The best friend the Democrats have is Republican messaging. And case in point, the week of the State of the Union address. What were we messaging? Do you know what we were messaging?
No.
Probably not, because we were messaging appliances. During the Biden administration, they put a lot of crazy rules and regulations, and it cost Americans millions and millions of dollars. And it's important, but that's a one-day thing. That's what we were messaging the week of the State of the Union. Today, we just passed a bill, Rouser, I forget what state he's out of, is the bill that we should have been messaging the week of that, because you remember that sweet little girl that got run over by that illegal, a guy was driving an 18-wheeler with, he couldn't speak English, wasn't here legally, and nearly killed that sweet little girl. And she's going to have a lifetime of medical care because the dirtbags in Washington want these illegals here to vote. And then they don't care about the consequences, and they get all the money coming in through them, and there's a lot of fraudulent stuff going on with them. But anyway, that's what we should have been messaging, the bill that we put out of committee today, but instead we're doing appliances. And that has a lot to do with the structure of the committees. And if I was king for a day, I'd fix that, because your committees, they're too big. You've got staff. Republicans for limited government. I'm on a committee where the staff, I think it's 50 people, 50 Republican people, and then the Democrats probably get 49 or something. I don't know. But the way that works is that the lobbyist gets to be buddies with some chuckwagon on the committee, and then you've got an important bill. You can't get it through the committee because why? Oh, that bill won't pass. That's going to cause a lot of problems. But let's do a study on it. And these staff members will tell you, let's do a study on it, and you'll study it. And let me tell you something, those studies, they go into that warehouse in the final scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't know if you've seen that movie, where they, that's where those studies go. I've been in Congress for 8 dadgum years, and I've never seen a dadgum study. And so you do the study, and it carries the same name as the bill, and your hometown newspaper, it says, oh, Tim Burchett passed the free all the children bill or something, and it doesn't do that. It just studies it. And Americans, and I'm guilty of this too, we want our pizzas in 30 minutes or less, and that's about our dadgum attention span. So in 1 year, nobody's going to be talking about what you're interested in. and then it just goes away. But occasionally somebody's persistent like me, for instance, have a bill to defund the Taliban. It would come as a shock to most Americans. We're sending about $40 million through various sources and various situations to the Taliban in Afghanistan. We've got over 1,000 NGOs operating there with it. If you add the UN ones, it could be 3,000 or 4,000 NGOs. And it's crooked as a dog's leg, yet we're still doing it. Why? It's taken me 2 years to get this bill. I got it out once, and then nothing happened in the Senate. I did it again, made it a stronger bill. Now it's in the Senate. It's gotten out of their committee. The one meeting that they've had this year, the first meeting was in just a month ago or something. They finally got it out, but the leadership in the Senate has not seen it upon themselves to defund the Taliban. And I have even a document from the State Department saying that it's in the billion, I think $5 billion we sent them so far. So think about that on tax day. We send these people will hate us for free, brother. And this is who we're sending your tax dollars to.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And that's on top of everything else that we saw coming from USAID and now all the fraud. Hey, do you think the budget would be, do you think we'd have a national debt? We'll just ask, would we have a national debt if we had eliminated all the fraud, waste, and abuse and the money going to terrorist organizations around the world?
Well, the problem with that is like all these people want to and I'm not going to get into all that, but people want to legalize weed. I go to these libertarians, legalize weed, man, and tax it. Look at all the great stuff we'll do. Well, no, legalize weed and don't tax it, because what happens with the tax dollars like tobacco, we're going to tax tobacco and we're going to pay for education. Well, all you do is you create this expectation that you're going to continue funding education. You just keep ratcheting it up. And then the numbers drop on the people using tobacco. And tobacco is the one product in this country we produce that, if you use it correctly, will absolutely kill you. So you'll have that number decreasing. And then people get smart and say, hey, I don't need to smoke. It's killing me. And the numbers go down. You tax it so much, the numbers go down. But you're dependent upon that tax stream. So, I say, if you're going to do that, designate the money going towards the deficit. Then yes, we can do that. But what we'll see is another pot of money. I remember I was in the state legislature in Nashville, and I was trying to be a fiscal hawk, and I found a duplication, and it saved $5 million, which is a lot of money in Tennessee, especially back about 2004 or something. And I remember the Democrat sitting beside me, said, that's a great bill. And I was like, hey, thanks, man. He goes, I know exactly where I'm going to spend that money. And so that's the mentality of politicians. Yeah. Don't tax anything else. Don't do that. It just creates more government. And when was the last time we ever taxed something and did something good with it? Oh, healthcare. No, it's a disaster. Oh, let's do a lottery so education will improve. We're 18th in the world, right, or 22nd. When Jimmy Carter moved it up to a cabinet position in 1978, we were number one in the world. Now, trillions of dollars actually we spent on education, and we're 22nd. So there's your answer.
2 questions left for you here. Are we getting the SAVE Act passed through the Senate, or are they just doing smoke and mirrors on us now, and they're not going to do the talking filibuster?
I think they're doing smoke and mirrors. Senator Lee and some of the others are doing great work, but I'm afraid we're going to go down with the ship on that one. I don't have a lot of faith in them. I hope I'm wrong. Dadgum, I hope I'm wrong. I see Schumer and some of those other chuckheads up there talking about, how this is racially insensitive, and then these people can't vote. Well, yeah, illegals can't vote. You play Little League baseball, guess what? You got to show a birth certificate. Oh, one of the senators, I don't know where my birth certificate is. He also lied about his service in Vietnam. Well, guess what? Go to your state that you were born in, get on the computer, get your 12-year-old grandson or granddaughter to show you how to use the dadgum thing, and you can probably get one for next to nothing. It's just, and then to say, I can't show an ID for that, that's racist. Well, guess what? You go buy a 6-pack of beer in Knoxville at Weigel's, or a scratch off, or some over-the-counter cough medicines, you got to show a dadgum ID. You buy a gun, you show an ID. You fly on an airplane, which every congressman does every week. Well, they're supposed to, but most of them just live up here or go on some Codell to some great island somewhere. And yeah, it's ridiculous. I just don't think they've got the guts to do it. And we are terrible at messaging.
So I'm going to throw in another.
Our party every day, out of every press conference, ought to lead and end with that. But most of the time, it's our leadership up there promoting themselves.
I got to throw in another question because you brought up something that I've known about for years. How many of those junkets do you get invited on where you get to go to a little trip to a Four Seasons on an island? They come up like every weekend, don't they? Because I get invited to them.
Yeah, I got invited to 2 this week, and I'm not going. I've been on one trip as a congressman. I went down to the border for 1 day. I stayed in a crappy motel, which I was fine to stay in, and ate some pretty good barbecue. Toured the border that night, and in the morning went to the intake centers, and I got on a dadgum airplane and came back to Knoxville, Tennessee. That was a 1-day turnaround. I was gone 2 days, I guess. I flew down, and then that night we were there, and then went out on the border with the agents and met some of the illegals, and I talked to some of them and their families, and came home. That's the only one I've ever been on, 8 years. And yeah, you can go on them every week. And I don't know. Some of them, they say you got to meet the people and all this stuff. You know what? I'm on Foreign Affairs Committee, and there's always somebody in my dadgum office from one of these countries. And I guarantee you, if I wanted to see them, I could put a bad bill in that they wouldn't like. And guess what? They'd be right in my dadgum office. So
yeah,
some of them
you don't have to fly to see them.
I get it. I might go on someday if something comes up that I really need to visit with somebody. And I've been offered trips that weren't necessarily legal. I remember I told the guy I couldn't do that from this country. He goes unnamed, but he goes, well, why? Everybody else does it. And I said, yeah, well, I'm not everybody else. So as a member of Congress, I'm not supposed to fly on a private plane unless I pay for it. And I don't have a lot of money, so I don't do those.
Well, you got to get on that Pelosi investing train, man. A couple of Republicans have gone on that. Yeah, crazy. I as a influencer, as people have labeled me, I hate that label. I get invited to do things with foreign countries all the time, and I always turn them down. I feel like it's scummy to take money from a foreign country, and a lot of folks are doing it. All right, last question for you, a real easy one. How do I get one of those skateboards, man?
Well, get in line. It's funny. I went. You mentioned the stock trading bill. Well, I'm trying to do everything legal. I gave one of those to Tulsi Gabbard. Trying to think of her name. She's a buddy of mine. We used to work out some, and she outs me, not this year, but the year before, at the State of the Union, and said, Burchett, my dadgum birthday's next month. Where's my skateboard? I was like, oh crap. She said that in front of the national media and all the congressmen. Like, yeah, Burchett, where's your skateboard? So I made her a prototype out of banana fibers, which are off the plant. One of my passions of getting people down there in Central America to use them, not just for growing bananas, but use the fibers. And I made it a banana fibers, bamboo, and some oak that I had off an oak pallet. I made her a really nice pintail, this great big old long thing. And I made it really nice and shiny and everything. And I gave it to her, and she was very excited because she wrote me this nice letter and autographed a picture and everything. It was really cool. Well, dadgummit, everybody all over the world's calling me for those things. I'm thinking, I'm a capitalist. I'm going to make a few skateboards because I've been doing it for a while. I just make them for myself or whatever, or my nephew or somebody. And so I'm making these dadgum things. I think, well, I better check with ethics before I try to sell one. Well, I go down there, and this dadgum guy starts giving me all this runaround. I'm really getting ticked off at him. He's an attorney. And I said, so let me get this straight, brother. I said, I can insider stock trade as a member of Congress, but I can't sell a skateboard. He said, that's about right. So
what?
I met with an attorney last week. So I got to get an LLC. My wife's got to own it. And I go to work for her, which if you're married, you work for, you do anyway.
You're already there. Yeah.
So I'm going to work for her, and I'm limited on how much money I can make. I don't know what it limits her. And I got to put my farm actually in an LLC, protection, all that stuff. So yeah, I've got probably, 35 of them in my barn now that I've made, various states of prototypes and everything. I use Type Bond 3 glue. I don't use any fiberglass or any resins because I'm 61. I've evaded lung cancer to this point, and I sure don't want to get it now, huffing a bunch of fiberglass fumes. So I just tell you, I can just get, and it's going to be Burchett boards. If I can ever just get it online, I'll be there. But they're not.
Look.
Listen, Tony Hawk's not going to call me and say, dude, I'm going to compete nationally in the Olympics in one of your boards. These are cruisers you put on your wall. They're kind of old school throwbacks, but that's what I love. And I always, I'm a Christian. I'm not a very good one. But I always tell people my boards are a whole lot like me. They got a lot of flaws, but they're forgiven. And so you can get down the road on it, and that's about it. It's not anything really fancy, but I've got a lot of new prototypes I'm working on and laminating different kinds of wood and stuff. And anyway, so I'm working on it, brother.
Between that, you could do a combo deal with that and Carhartt. You could get a Carhartt jacket.
Yeah.
A version of American made and that with it. Look, I'm not giving you ideas there, but that sounds like a $300 combo right there.
That's a good idea. I'll write that down.
Yeah, there you go. I'm giving out advice to keep you from insider trading. Look at you being on. It's crazy. You're one of the cooler members of Congress, like I said earlier on, just by being yourself and not insider trading. A crazy concept to be elected as yourself, be normal, work for the American people, not take fraudulent trips to foreign countries, and not insider trade. Like I said when I started here, one of the best in Congress right now, Congressman Tim Burchett. Thanks for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, brother. And I hope next time I'll show you one of my skateboards. I need to get one down here because there's like a skateboard caucus. There's several, and they're all Republicans, oddly enough, that have their skateboards here and they ride around some. I think that'd be cool at night.
Ilhan Omar's not on that one?
I know.
Hey, look, I have no problems with you working on a legitimate business with your wife. Her husband made $30 million, I believe it was, from the winery that doesn't exist. It's just
I've been told. Somebody said, Burchett, if you could just be a little bit crooked,
just a little bit. Bit. That's why I never want to be a member of Congress, because if you do it honestly, you lose money. It's one of those crazy things. It's truly serving the people.
It's expensive up here, man. You go out for that gum taco basket. It's like $60 or something with a cold drink. I don't even drink, man.
Yeah.
I remember one time I know you got to go, but I was celebrating. I got invited to the White House, and President Trump was laughing at my jokes. This is the first term, and invited me in the Oval Office. And I walked in. I said it was so surreal. I thought I heard Leonard Skinner singing Freebird in the background, but I'm not sure. Maybe that was just in my head. But I took my chief of staff out to celebrate, and I took him for some barbecue joint down here. And these Yankees have just messed up barbecue.
It's not good. Yeah, it's not good.
Cornbread, if it got sugar in it, man, I don't want cake. I want a piece of cornbread's got to fight you when you swallow it. And they're scratch you up. It cost me almost $100 to celebrate going to the White House. It's like, man, this town is a racket.
What's your go-to in Tennessee? Is it Central?
Do what?
For barbecue? What's your barbecue place in Tennessee? Central?
Well, we've got, I'm in East Tennessee, so we got Calhoun's and Buddy's is a favorite. I barbecue chicken, though, I've got I haven't got my favorite saved in my phone. My mama had this really easy barbecue recipe for chicken. I'd rather eat my mama's barbecue chicken. She's dead now, but in heaven, but I'd rather eat that. I've got a picture on my phone saved of 4 big old half chickens that I was cooking on the grill. It looks so good, and I spray her barbecue sauce on it, and that's my all-time favorite. I get to do that on my birthday and stuff.
That's awesome. Congressman Tim Burchett, I want to have this conversation longer with you one day. Get those skateboards, man. You can watch me run up my health insurance on them.
Yeah. Hey, I sold one at auction last week for $5,200.
Okay, well, I can't afford a $5,200 skateboard. So
yeah, it's crazy. And then some other guy, I guess he'd been at the bar, he said, if Burchett will make me one, I'll give you $5,200 for it too. So the charity got $10,400.
I'm going to go get, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get one of those $100,000 consulting gigs for social media for one of your colleagues and get him to make some stupid videos.
Brother. You can advise them for about a week.
Yeah. Let's say there's a lot. There's a lot of that running around, and it'll be paid for by a foreign government through their. It doesn't matter. That's a long story. We can do this all day long. Thanks for being here, sir. Thanks for all the hard work you put in, and good luck with everything that's going on in Congress.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. It's a real honor.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right, guys. What a great show today, huh?
Yeah, that was great.
Pat and Dan are gone. Pat and Dan are gone already. Dude, I could have talked to Congressman Burchett all day long. I love that guy. He's awesome. But look, we've run out of time, and in a good way, we've run out of time. I want to thank you all for having me, both of you, Two-A-Day Dan and Tinfoil Pat.
We appreciate you.
And I want to thank Will Cain for, he probably had no idea that I was going to be filling in for him this week. He would have put the kibosh on it.
Something in Mexico. I don't know what
he's out there. Man, that guy's too athletic for me. I'm in here just eating the goldfish for him, so he doesn't get those carbs. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for being here, and make sure you tune in every day to Will Cain Country. Talk to you soon.